So just to let you guys know what we're doing on this episode, we are going to be talking about Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. We've both seen it. I saw it Friday night.
I just saw it today.
Yeah, so for
so
you
it's like fresh in my mind right now.
Super fresh.
Oh my god! So it was so good.
And then after our review, we're going to be ranking our top 5 favorite Star Wars films. And
I don't. How about instead of a top 5 ranking, how about we just rank them?
No, we're doing top 5.
Why? Let's just rank them all.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because there's, I mean, I want to say like half, a little bit under half of the movies I like.
Okay, fine. We'll do a top 5.
And I don't want to shit talk because I know that there's a lot of fans for certain movies, and we'll get into that when we do the ranking. And then after that, we're going to talk about the toxic fandom that has surrounded Star Wars and really, really picked up after Last Jedi. It kind of started with Force Awakens. It started with the prequels.
Yeah.
Picked up after Force Awakens and then just took over the internet.
I disagree with that,
Jedi.
but okay.
All right. So we're getting into it. Hope you guys are ready for this ride.
Yeah.
Mind you, he is a prequel lover, and
I do. I like the prequels.
I am
a prequel hater.
Very much. So we'll get into that. So we're pretty much on both sides of the team on this one.
Yeah, essentially.
All right. So
it'd be nice if we had Alex here to kind of.
He doesn't like the prequels either.
You don't know that.
I've talked to him about this many times.
He loves what I love.
Anyways.
He doesn't go against me.
Okay, well, we'll see. Anyways, so let's go ahead. Let's get into our spoiler review of Rise of Skywalker.
So before we get into it, what did you think of? Okay, so what did you think of the movie as a movie, not as a parts in the series, but as a movie? What do you think of it as a movie?
It wasn't a good movie.
Okay, not so as a movie itself,
as a
like
standalone.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I can compare it to like an Iron Man 3. Okay, so like Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2. Like I'm an Iron Man 2 lover. I love Iron Man 2. That's one of my favorite Iron Man movies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2 coincide with the franchise, and it coincides with what the Marvel Universe is.
Makes sense.
Iron Man 3 is like its own thing. And it's kind of like, it's not a good Marvel movie. It's a good Shane Black movie.
Okay.
It's a good movie, but it's not a good Marvel movie.
Makes sense.
So I can compare that to this movie. This movie... I'll get to my thoughts on it as a Star Wars film, but to me it wasn't. It was the opposite of what Iron Man 2 was, where
okay.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Let me take that back. To me, it's just like how Iron Man 3 was, where it's not a good movie on paper. Like if you look at the basics of filmmaking and you look at the necessities that you need, the basic aspects of making a movie, it doesn't hit the marks. It's actually bad. But if you watch it as a Star Wars film, if you watch it as a final chapter, if you literally go from watching Last Jedi and then put this movie on, it continues the story.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So my thoughts on it as just a movie, I didn't think it was a good movie, and I understand where the critics are coming from, because critics are hating this movie.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna get into. Is like, so do you think the critic reviews as to being so bad is they're basing it on the fact that they're basing it on a standalone movie? Do you think that's what the case is?
The critics are basing it on the identity of it as a film. They're not basing it as a Star Wars film. They're not basing it as a blockbuster movie. They're basing it on as just a normal film, as far as plot, acting, the direction of the film, the pacing, the editing, the score, all that stuff is what they're basing their opinions on. So I have two different sides to this coin. You know, as someone who I analyze films. Yeah. As someone who analyzes films, I'm watching this movie and I just know, like, there's parts where I'm like, I could take a breather and say, what I'm watching is not a film. This is an event. It's not a film. You know, it's an event. And then the Star Wars fan in me is just like losing my mind.
Yeah, exactly.
So I understand why the critics hate it. Like, this is not a situation where I'm like, what the fuck are the critics smoking? Like, no, I 100% agree with the critics. This is not a good movie. But it's because they're basing it on as a film. And not as a fan movie. Not as something for fans.
Like I said, not as a Star Wars movie. It's just a movie.
And I think that's the thing. Like a lot of the critics that I watch, like no critic that I watch likes the movie. In fact, one critic that I kind of coincide a lot of my opinions on, he hated the movie. He said he was offended by it. Yeah, Koi Jandro from Collider Movie Talk. I've been watching him since he was a host of Marvel Movie News. No, since he was like a secondary host back in 2014. I've been following him a long time. Every single movie, every single show, like I always have the same opinions as him. This is the first time, and it was like polar opposites. He was like, I'm afraid for like future genre movies. I'm afraid for future superhero movies, science fiction, and all that, because this movie's gonna make a lot of money, and it's gonna tell the studios, hey, fans do not give a shit about the quality of film. And I'm watching it like, fuck. Like, oh god, dude.
Makes sense.
So what are your thoughts on it?
So I went in as a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
I didn't go in as thinking like as a standalone movie. I went in like I went in because I think it was the other night, like what was it? It was sometime this week. I rewatched the 7 and 8 just to like get a refresher, get the vibe going in, get the refresher.
Yeah.
And going into it, I fucking loved it. As a Star Wars fan, I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I can't go see a Star Wars I can't go see a Star Wars movie and look at it as a movie. I think that's why most people are like surprised by the critics review, because everyone's going in to this movie thinking everyone's going to this movie knowing it's a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
It's part of the trilogy. It's like Lord of the Rings. You had the first, second, or third. If you just watch the third one and you didn't watch the last two, you're gonna be like, well, what the fuck is all this?
Actually, Lord of the Rings is a great analogy for my feeling of this movie, because the way I compare this movie, when I say it's a final chapter, it comes off as a final chapter, and the whole movie is a third act. The whole movie, I can compare it to like the last hour of Return of the King. Yeah, where it's like, okay, we've built up to all this, and we're gonna give you a whole hour of just banana shit. And then at the end of the movie, the epilogue, it's all fan service. It's like, what fans have talked about, what we've read about. So Rise of Skywalker to me is, it's not a simple first, second, third act film. The whole movie is a third act. The whole movie is literally that last hour of what the movie would have been, but in a way broadened into a 2.5 hour movie. Yeah. But yeah, I'm sorry, keep going.
No, but so like, that's how I went to seeing the movie. Like I said, that's why I think like some of the like people are like kind of like, they're like, why would the critics say it's such a bad movie? Because like you said, yeah, maybe as a standalone movie, yeah, it's probably not, it's not a well thought out movie. Yeah. But going into it as a Star Wars fan, you're like, oh my god, this explains so much as to what happened in Episode 8 or Episode 7. It explains it and it ties it all together. Yeah. And that's what I loved about it, because like I said, I wasn't going into that movie thinking, oh, it's a new Star Wars film. I'm like, no, it's not a new Star Wars film, it's just the continuation of this trilogy. Yeah. And that's how I went into it, and I loved it. Yeah. Like, I loved every aspect of it. Honestly, I wasn't so on board with how they brought Palpatine back, but it made sense as to when they brought him back, how they brought him back, what he was doing throughout the entire time Episodes 7 and 8 were happening. Yeah. It makes sense. They show like the first 30 minutes of the film, you like the first, I think it was like the first 10 actually, you see Kylo walking on Mustafar?
No, that wasn't Mustafar.
That
was it starts with an A. I forget what it was.
Well, you see him on that. You see him there, grabbing the wave. Fuck, what's it called?
The Sith wave.
The Sith wave.
Something. In Rebels, they call it the holocron.
Yeah, whatever that. You see him pretty much destroying an entire village to get that, so he can go find the Emperor. And his original plan was to kill the Emperor, so he wouldn't have anybody in his way. But when he gets there, the Emperor pretty much lays it all down. It's like, I've been fucking pulling the strings behind all this for fucking years. Yeah. Here's a fucking, I made whatever, Snooky.
Snooky.
I made Snooky, and then fucking it shows fucking like a little glass like water chamber of fucking clones of it, and him just like fucking right there. So I'm just like, the Emperor is like fucking he literally just pulled all the strings. Like, I told him what to do, I told him what to say, I told him what, he pretty much laid it all out. And like I said, I wasn't like all on board with bringing Palpatine back, but the way they did it, as a Star Wars fan, I was happy with it. I was like, you know what? Okay, they didn't just pull some like bullshit like, I'm fucking just like I'm just here. Yeah. Like, they actually like, no, he was actually doing shit behind in the back, not being seen, as to building up the Empire. And bro, that fucking scene at the end, or at the end when all those the Star Destroyers just fucking rising from the ground. Not even like they weren't like they were just like fucking, you just see like little heaps of metal just lying around. No, it was all ground, and these motherfuckers, like a fucking whole fleet of them, just fucking visually was just fucking stunning. Just rising, boom, and then
you see the lightning in the back, and
honestly, that's what kind of gave it away.
Yeah,
because freaking obviously, Palpatine, one of his signature fucking moves is fucking the lightning, and once he gets to that planet,
I forget the name of it.
The Sith home planet, I guess. Yeah. All you see is fucking lightning. Like, that's, to me, I was like, oh, he's gonna find Palpatine there for sure. So I mean, overall, like, but I mean, that's what, like, I just loved it so much. I loved how they did. I loved the aspect of how they clarified on how Princess Leia was a Jedi as well.
that I really loved, because it's kind of out of left field if you're just walking into it.
Yeah.
As a casual Star Wars fan or not understanding the mythology, but it harkens back to Return of the Jedi, which I watched the night before watching this movie, and it was a part where Luke Skywalker tells Leia, "You're my sister, and you have the same power I have. You have the same sensitivity to the Force. You can harness it, and one day you will learn how to use it." And a lot of people made fun of that scene in Last Jedi, where it shows Leia kind of flying through space.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, she's using the Force because she knows how to use it. She knows how to access the Force. And it's one of those things like, sure, it looks kind of corny, but when you watch this movie, you get a full context of where that scene is. So you watch the scene differently.
Yeah,
than before watching this movie.
Then I love like the whole like, they finally like break down Rey's lineage. There you go. How they just break it down, and when Episode 8 came out, and we talked about it for a bit. We did have like
I straight up said.
Yeah, you did. I remember.
It's Palpatine's granddaughter. I thought it was Palpatine's daughter. I didn't know it was gonna be his granddaughter.
It was either you said that I thought it was gonna be like a clone of some sort, like genetic clone or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it was essentially almost right on the markers. Like, it's his granddaughter. She was gonna be the new Empress Rey. Yeah. Which, I'm not gonna lie, when they showed that scene where where like her dark side comes.
Yeah, in the trailer it shows her like with a Sith hood, and she has the fucking red lightsaber.
She looked fucking hot. Yeah. I would have banged the shit out of her.
God damn.
But I mean, I loved it. Like, every aspect of it, I loved. It like, going back to Lord of the Rings. It gave me that love again. It gave me that love that I fucking love from Lord of the Rings. Little backstory. I love Lord of the Rings. One of my favorite.
We both do. I think that Return of the King is like the greatest movie of all time. Like, it hits all the points to be the greatest movie of all time.
Yeah, I love Lord of the Rings. Fucking, not the Hobbit, not so much, but I love like the actual book. The actual books were fucking amazing, and I just love how Lord of the Rings in general, how they pulled it off, how everything went, fucking amazing. And to me, I feel that same love with these last three movies. To me, it's like I get that same feeling. Like I get the beginning, I get the middle, I get the end, and I'm just like, you know what? It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
God, it was such a great movie. Like, I mean, there was just so much that was going on, but like it all made sense. It didn't leave almost any questions unanswered. Majority of everything was answered.
Yeah. My thoughts on this movie.
Yes. What were your thoughts?
Okay, so I did a review for this for my YouTube channel. So
I did not watch it, by the way.
Oh, well, no one's apparently seen it.
Well, I didn't watch it because I didn't want it ruined.
Oh, it's a non-spoiler, yeah. I didn't spoil anything. No, I just talked about my general thoughts on the movie.
But, I mean, that's why I didn't watch it, because I just didn't want... I don't know.
You didn't want it ruined.
I didn't want it ruined in an aspect of, even if someone says, oh, it was a good movie or it was a bad movie, I was like, I just want to go in not knowing...
Yeah.
If people, because like when I heard people were saying the critics are giving it a bad score, I'm just like, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
I just want to go in mind blank, give it my personal opinion, and like I said.
Yeah.
Go continue. Sorry.
It's just, okay. So just so you guys know, I really did enjoy this movie. I don't want to go as far and saying I loved it. Oh. Move my shit. Let's see. Computer shit going on. Okay. Anyways, I don't want to go as far as saying I love this movie, because I did not love this movie. I liked it a lot. I enjoyed it. There was a lot of parts in the movie that blew my mind. There was a lot of areas where I started to tear up.
You're right.
The part that I cried to two different scenes. The first
when Chewbacca died.
No, that I didn't, because I was like, what? That was my problem, was when they were like, they're gonna kill Chewbacca. I'm like, that's how you're gonna kill Chewbacca? Like, I was like relieved to find out he's alive. I was like, good,
me too. I was
that was a bitch
honestly,
way to go out.
When that happened, I was like, you all just Abraham's just gonna kill off everybody.
Yeah,
kill off Han Solo.
Yeah,
kill off Luke. Kill off Leia. Might as well finish it off. Right? Kill off the Wookiee.
I'm like, no, we're not playing that fucking game. We're not doing that. But what did?
But yes, I was relieved too when fucking he's saved. I was like, oh yes.
Thank God they didn't fuck this up.
At least they didn't kill the Wookiee.
But like, so the part was a C-3PO scene where he was gonna get his mind wiped. Mind you, he already had his mind wiped. A lot of people are complaining about it.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah. Him and R2-D2 both at the end of episode 3 had their minds wiped. That's why in episode the first one, episode 4.
They don't know who anybody is.
They don't know who anybody is.
Yeah.
Because like obviously once they found out episode 5, Vader's Luke's father, and then they would have known, hey, Vader is Anakin, and then obviously, but I mean that also helps tie up loose ends that people would have, but
it was it was the part with C-3PO. It was a scene where. It happened in the trailer too. When I saw it, I teared up. It was 3PO, what are you doing? And he's like, taking one last look at my friends, and I was like, because I've been watching these movies since before I can remember.
Yeah.
And C-3PO he's a character that, because him and R2 when I was a kid, they were one of the more visual. Them and Darth Vader. And when I was like, C-3PO's gonna die, they're actually gonna fucking do it. They're gonna kill him off. And it's like, no, he's gonna get his mind wiped. It doesn't matter.
It's still gonna kill him.
And then, obviously he got his memory back later, so that was cool.
Yeah, but he didn't get it he didn't get the full memory.
Yeah, but the part that I lost my shit too, like I was like in tears, was when Kylo Ren is on that bridge.
Oh. Yeah, but I know.
And Rey takes off after she injures him / heals him. And she takes off. And
that's also something I liked about it. Before, not to cut you off, but that's also something I really liked about it. How they give her force power is.
Oh, we'll get into Rey.
Oh,
because I loved how they handled her character, and I have theories on why they did that. Okay. They handled her character in many ways.
Okay, but continue then.
Yeah, it was the part where he's like kind of like he's bewildered. He's like shocked. He's like, why would this person like save me? Like, what the hell? And then he's like standing there staring at all the waves and shit, and all you hear is a kid. And I thought it was Luke Skywalker at first. I was like, because my thoughts
honestly, I heard that too. I thought it was Luke too.
And it was just like, oh, he's gonna like become Luke's like apprentice again, you know? And he turns around and it's Han Solo, and I'm like, oh shit. And that's when I started like to tremble. I was like, dude, it's fucking Harrison Ford,
right?
Like back as Han Solo.
Me and Alex were actually talking about this scene. Actually, so obviously prior to this scene is Kylo and Rey. They're fighting on the bridge in the water, and then that's when they sense Princess Leia dying.
Yeah.
Because first, I'm gonna call him Ben, because you know what? At this point, to me, he's Ben now.
Yeah.
He's not Kylo anymore, because he's Ben.
Yeah.
So Ben senses his mom. I guess is the last four.
He senses her leaving. Yeah.
Yeah, he senses her leaving, and then Rey senses it too, and then that's when like that whole thing starts happening.
That bond, yeah, and it was that whole conversation. It went back to The Force Awakens. They had a similar conversation right before Kylo killed Han Solo. Yep. And it was just like, it was a prodigal son to me. Like it harkened back to the original Star Wars trilogy, where they took influences from Greek mythology and took influences from the Bible too. And to me, it was just a prodigal son story. It took Leia dying, and it took him just thinking about his father, because that wasn't a Force ghost. Like, it was just in his memory.
Yeah, it was just like
he felt what's that word? Remorse.
Yeah.
For what he did, and that's what you saw. You saw him like feeling remorse and wanting to make the right decision now that his mom has died.
Yeah, because like he and I think what makes that scene stand out, that's to be like, oh, it's a Force ghost. Like, no. Because Ben even says it. It's what did he say? It's
memory.
He says something. He says something along. He says a line that includes the word memory.
Yeah, I'm a part of your memory.
Yeah, I'm part of your memory, and that's where like.
Yeah.
Where you know, like, oh no, that's not a Force ghost. That's just Kylo fucking finally realizing, you know what have I been doing?
Yeah, and it was that whole scene that just it really brought me to tears. But I mean, I loved a lot of things about this movie. I loved that it was fan service. Because Star Wars rarely does fan service.
They rarely do. Correct.
Most of the time, they just ignore the fan service. They're like, no, we're not. Every once in a while, we'll give it to you.
Yeah.
But like, for the most part, it's like they ignore the fan service. This movie this is a gift for the fans. You want to see this. You want to see a lot of things that were discussed about this movie, about these characters.
Yeah.
All the way from the prequels to all the way, to now. And that's what they gave us.
This is true.
There was a lot of things. At the same time, I feel like that was the detriment of the film for me, because
I guess
because my biggest problem, I can give this movie so many benefits, and honestly, the whole movie is a benefit. It's just one like awesome. To me, it's like that comic event. It's like you're waiting for all these things to happen. Yeah. But I feel I don't know if it's true, but I feel that Disney or Lucasfilm took a lot of influence from how Endgame was handled. Okay. Because there was a lot of similar beats to Endgame, with the exception that this movie, my biggest con for this movie was rushed as fuck. The first 20 to 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, no,
was like,
totally.
Bam, 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 bam,
I totally agree with you, because it starts off with Kylo. It moves on to
Poe and Finn.
It moves on to Rey with Leia.
Yeah, but it's like all this story. There's no story to it. You're moving through plot beats, and there's no story. There's no I have to watch the movie again, but none of the scenes in that intro, like.
I agree with you. They were just, it was like, boom. It's like they were using Final Cut Pro, and they're like, okay, I'm going to leave this here for right now. I'm going to work on this scene. And then I'll come back to tie it together. Yeah. And they're like, oh, I'm going to work on this thing. And they just forgot. Like, they're like, oh. Like,
they did not care about script. They did not care about character buildup. They just kind of threw you in.
Yeah.
Which was cool. But it's one of those things where as the movie went along, during that first 30 minutes, I thought it was a montage. And then as the movie went on, I got used to that pace. And the pace of the movie did not let up. It moves so fast.
It does.
And that's one of the biggest signs of that. This movie probably had a 4-hour cut, 4 hour cut. And they had to cut out a lot of shit. But JJ did not want to leave out anything.
True.
So they probably just shortened scenes down to like the most important parts of the scenes instead of having like the breaths between the scenes, the calming, the kind of like
I get what you're saying.
That's where the pacing is, and like the peaks and valleys. There is no peaks and valleys in this movie. This movie is one giant fucking mountain of shit that happens.
Climbing up the mountain.
Yeah, that's all it is. There's no chill time. There's no. It's like you don't have time to catch a breath, and it felt frantic. Like that was my biggest problem. The editing in this movie was so poorly done, and I think that's what's killing a lot of critics with this movie. I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, the direction of the film." Yeah, I think that JJ wanting to service the fans, which is great. Like I love that,
I love fan service is it's good once in a while.
I love like 90% of the ideas in this movie. There's a couple things where like but most of the ideas in this movie I loved, but they did sacrifice the story. There is no story in this movie. It is one giant boss battle, but spread out. They spread it out. And that's what I'm saying. It's a final chapter. It's the last hour of a movie, but spread out into a 2.5 hour film. That's what it is. And as soon as you understand that, you understand what the movie is and you can enjoy it.
Yeah.
But this is not a full-length film in general terms. This is the final act, but spread out. And that was really the only con of the movie, but it was such a big thing, and the fact that if it was just the first 30 minutes, I probably would have been like, okay, whatever, I'll move on, and then have completely enjoyed the movie as a film. True. But it was like that for 2.5 hours, and it was relentless, True. In saying that, as a Star Wars fan, I really enjoyed this movie. It is not my favorite of the three. I'm still wrestling with whether or not I liked it more than Last Jedi. Which Last Jedi, I came out of that theater trembling. I came out of there being like, "What the fuck?" Like that last hour was insane. It was so good. That last hour of Last Jedi. I don't care what your thoughts are on the Last Jedi. That movie.
I gotta take a piss.
Yeah. Oh shit. Okay. Alberto's taking a pee break.
A pee break.
So I'm gonna talk to the people who don't like Last Jedi. That last hour of Last Jedi was just amazing. It was so awesome, and there was deception in the storytelling. You didn't know where it was going. I seriously thought that Rian Johnson was gonna have Kylo and Rey switch sides, and like go in opposites, where Kylo becomes one with the Jedi, and then Rey goes with the Sith. I thought that's what the direction was going to be. So I love that deception of it. It was a fresh approach to a Star Wars film. But I don't know, man. Like this movie, I didn't feel like this movie was predictable. I love the twists of this movie. There was a couple things that were like I said, it's a couple things did not hit home for me very much or very well. But I don't know. Oh, you're back. Wonderful. But let's talk things that I liked about the movie, which is.
So what did you like about the movie?
My favorite character in all of these movies has been none of the new characters.
God damn.
None of the new characters. I was like, Rey's just like, okay, she's cool. Poe, he's barely in the movie. In the first two, he's barely in it. He's a third character.
True.
A supporting character. Finn, I felt, was going to get a bigger arc, and I think that's what they meant to give him.
Yeah.
And Last Jedi kind of said, no, fuck you. You're going to go to a casino and waste your time looking for a hacker, and that's it. I felt like Finn was a missed opportunity because I loved Finn in the first movie.
True.
But I didn't really like the three main characters were not my favorites. Han Solo was my favorite in The Force Awakens. I'm a big Han Solo fan. And Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker was a big deal for me. Kylo Ren too. Kylo Ren is my favorite of any of the new characters. But this movie, for the first time, I really, really, really loved where they took Rey's character.
Oh yeah.
I loved what they did with her character. I love that we had a time jump, and I love that.
Another time jump. Yes.
We finally got to see her being a Jedi. Like, she went through training. She didn't become a Jedi after, like, Luke didn't even train her. He barely trained her.
He did.
He just gave her, like, words of advice, you know? But she became a Jedi, and this was this couple years after the first movie. I mean, not the first movie, The Last Jedi. I feel like this took place a couple years after. They gave the rebellion time to build up their alliances and such. I love what they did with Rey's character. I absolutely enjoyed it. I love that we saw her do like Jedi tricks and all kinds of cool shit. She's an expert, like expert level now.
True.
And it was nice to see that, because you get 2 movies where she's basically, oh shit. Where's the camera? There you go.
There.
You basically get like 2 movies where she's like a nobody, and in this movie she's the baddest motherfucker in the movie. You know,
yeah, she is.
She's on Kylo's level. Like, that's crazy.
Very.
And I have a theory for that. I have a theory for why. So, like, all the things that the Jedi and the Sith did in this movie, a lot of it's like what you would expect, and a lot of shit is like, I did not expect that. Like, for example, I did not know that you could Jedi heal. I didn't know that was a thing. I know that was in the novels and such, but I did not know that was a thing canon in the films. And when they did that, I was like, this is cool. Like, they showed it in The Mandalorian on last week's episode with Baby Yoda healing.
Okay, wait. We have a comment.
Oh.
Let's see. From Darkness 5632. I don't know who that is, but let's be honest, everyone. The holiday special is the best Star Wars movie.
We all know he secretly loved it. Oh shit. Well, what did you think of the film Darkness? How did you enjoy the film? But I don't know. I just thought she was badass. That kind of lost my train of thought. But my theory on why they did a lot of things, like they showed Rey kind of floating in the beginning, like that's the introduction to her character, and I'm like, yo, I didn't know Jedi could float. Well, I didn't know they could levitate. I did not know that was a fucking thing, you know.
Well, I mean, it kind of, to me, it kind of goes back to it's like an what is it called, homage?
An homage.
Homage. He says it wasn't decent but not great. It was decent but not great. So to me, it kind of goes back. It's an homage to when Master Yoda was training Luke. I remember when Yoda had Luke like lifting all the rocks around him.
Oh yeah.
So to me, I think that's what that scene kind of was. It was just like the next level. Yeah. Like, okay, first we're gonna train you on how to lift, objects.
Yeah.
Then it's gonna be like the next level is gonna be, like you said, floating.
Yeah. But like that's the thing is I know that they could levitate shit. I did not know that they could actually levitate themselves. So that was cool. Okay, you saw that. And then you saw, Palpatine's powers, and it's like I didn't know that it was at that magnitude. I just thought like he could like electrocute people, like do it. I didn't know that he could actually like fucking tear down fucking armies. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, in the lore, in the Star Wars lore, there are certain Jedis that do have certain abilities. Like when in the prequels, when Palpatine is talking to Anakin tells him of the story of the first Sith Lord, how he was able to bring people back to life.
Yeah. And
then you kind of see that power in Rey in this movie, with the power to heal.
Yeah.
Not saying she's bringing people back to life, but with the power to heal. So it's like there are certain Jedi powers that are only that like certain people can do, and I think that's what kind of made her more interesting, where she was like a healer, of sorts.
But I mean, but there was a lot of things in this film, like the whole like Kylo Ren, when they had their first discussion in this film, like where he's on was it no it wasn't the first, it was when she was on the planet when they were like gonna wipe C-3PO's mind, and they end up going to Kylo's Star Destroyer, and then Kylo's on the planet, and they're kind of like looking for each other's shit, like Kylo's trying to find Rey's trying to find like that holocron. I'm gonna call it a fucking holocron. Rey's trying to find the holocron, and it's that scene where like he reaches for like her necklace that was given to her by like somebody on the planet.
Yeah, the little.
Oh no, that wasn't the scene. I'm sorry, that was when they were on like that desert planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then
so he reaches to grab her necklace.
Yeah.
And it's like they're having their vision together. And then as she grabs it, like it's tangible. Like he has it and he knows where they are. And she's like, oh shit, he knows where we are. That was like I didn't know that they could do that. Like, I thought it was just like vision, like audio, video kind of shit.
I see that's a thing that I feel that these movies haven't really done when like compared to like the lore, is they don't really show off like all the different powers all most of these Jedis have. Because I believe each main Jedi has like their own special ability.
Yeah. But it's like they both had it. You know what I mean?
But I think the reason they both had... God damn, this guy is like... He is really getting into this.
Darkness, we are going to get into your comments in just a minute. We're just going to wrap up our thoughts on what we're talking about right now. But we will get to your comment in just a second. But it's awesome. He's fucking really into it.
It's freaking awesome.
Shout out to Shout out to Darkness 5632. Sweet.
But where was I?
Okay, so just like their powers, like their abilities, I loved that they really broadened what our expectations were on Jedi and Sith abilities. And I feel that the reason they did it in this movie is because in future movies and shows, they're going to be playing with that. They're going to be adding to it. So I think that we'll see like ideas of these concepts in future Star Wars movies, and they're setting it up so that maybe in the next Star Wars movie, somebody does some shit like what Palpatine did. They took out an entire fleet with their fucking lightning. Like, I am the Senate.
You know what I love though? It was an homage back to episode 4 when they board the Star Destroyer after they wipe C-3PO's mind, and she's all like, she force talks him. Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm glad. It's like, you're glad we're here. It's like, oh my God, it's like, oh my God, thank God you're here. Yeah. I found that fun. You know what? There was some comedy into this because C-3PO before the mind wipe, he was really snappy. Yeah. He had some good funny lines. Yep. And then that whole scene with Rhea doing the force wipe or the force talk to the
Jedi mind trick.
Yeah, the Jedi mind trick. They're like, "Oh, thank God you're here." It was good.
So let's go ahead. Let's wrap up our thoughts on this. We could talk about this movie for hours because there's a lot to digest. What I will say is that I appreciated how they broadened the abilities. I love what they did with Rey's character. I love what they did with Kylo's character. Yeah, because it was nice to see that.
Plus, he got. We're talking with our guitarist Hondo. Me and him were talking outside. We felt that this was like his redemption.
Yeah, this was his redemption story because he's not really evil in the movie. He just kind of, even in the beginning when he's talking with Palpatine, what happens right after when he's talking to Rey? Palpatine's looking for you. I want us to go murder this motherfucker. You know, he's not trying to seduce her to the dark side. He's trying to seduce her into his plan to kill this dude because he does not want any more Jedi or Sith. That's his thing. This movie is not Jedi versus Sith. This movie is Jedi versus person who does not want Jedi or Sith. And that's a different take on
that's a very different take.
So okay, we got to get into Darkness's comments because it's looking like he's talking a lot.
He is.
So I love it. So let's go ahead. Let's get into Darkness's comment in just a minute. Let's rate this movie. Now I did a YouTube review and I did a rating on it. It might change once I see the movie. I'm going to see the movie again on Christmas for a second viewing. It might change depending on now that the initial shock has ended. Yeah. And it happened with Endgame, where after Endgame, I was like, this is like the greatest fucking Marvel movie ever. Right? And then the second time I saw the movie, I was like, you know what? I love Endgame, but I loved Infinity War better. Just it's like this, just so close. But there's so many more iconic moments for me in Infinity War than Endgame. For me personally, as a fan, and I feel like this could probably happen with this movie, where maybe I might like it more, I might like it less, because the shock value will have died, and I can enjoy the movie as a movie. So the score I gave the movie on my review, I gave it a 6 out of 10. Only because, not because of the characters, not because of the visual effects. I love the visual effects in this movie.
Oh, visual effects are phenomenal.
Not because of the direction. It was purely because I felt the editing was so bad. The pacing of this movie was so bad that it actually hurt my viewing experience of this movie. I'm so into these scenes, and it's like I want to see a little bit more of this. And I feel like there was a little more development that could have happened, but then you had to jump over to this next scene, and then from there you jump over. You never jump back. You keep going forward, and you're not doing a lot of development. You're just moving beat to beat to beat. It's almost like a video game plot in a way. Yeah. So for me, it was a 6 out of 10. Oh, there goes the other camera. Dinner time. It goes too fast. That it was the editing that hurt this movie. I never thought I would say that about a Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was the editing of this movie. So that's why I gave it a 6 out of 10. I don't think it's a terrible movie. I don't think it's a bad movie at all. I actually really enjoyed it as a Star Wars fan. But I don't think that on paper it's a good movie. What's your opinion on it?
Okay.
What's your rating? What would you rate?
My rating, as a Star Wars movie, I give it an 8 out of 10. As a Star Wars movie. As just, viewing the movie, just like as a solo movie, I agree with you on like that 6. I agree with you on that 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
It was like the beginning was just it started off fast paced and then it just didn't let up.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought they were gonna okay, they're starting fast, so they're probably gonna slow it down in the middle, probably do some more depth into the characters or whatever. But no, that was not the case.
Yeah.
That was not the case.
All right.
But I mean, as a Star Wars movie, I give it an 8 out of 10. It was a Star Wars movie it was supposed to be.
All right. So what would your overall score be? Could you give it 2 scores?
So I would probably
meet in the middle and do a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. We'll meet in the middle. 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Like to give it that overall score, 7 out of 10.
All right. So Rockin' Comics giving the movie an average score, so pretty much like a 6.5.
Yeah, 6.5.
So it's like an average score, but if you're a big Star Wars fan, you're probably gonna enjoy or love this movie. As far as critics go, like I've said, all the critics that I follow, like all of them, fucking did not like this movie. But all the people that I personally know loved this movie.
Yeah.
So I guess it just depends on what side of the spectrum that you kind of you swing towards,